Monday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Whoopin Bets Podcast here presented by the Kota Sports Gambling Network. I'm Kota Pace on Twitter. You can follow the Whoopin Bets show on Twitter as well at Whoopin Bets. And our first ever guest for our first ever episode. How about that? We have Almond Picks, Sports Picks here to join us. You can follow him on Twitter at Almond Picks. Jaden, how are we doing here today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. We're just getting excited. Obviously, let's see. Next Monday, we got college basketball, women's college basketball. I'm fired up for that.
Oh, same here, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, Almond, we brought you on. You're on Twitter, a handicapper, women's college basketball and men's college basketball. I think you're established, in 2020. So, Jane, just talk about the accounts and why women's basketball and what gets you excited and just kind of your sports betting journey here.
So for women's basketball, kind of being from Connecticut, UConn's women's basketball is pretty big here. So with the Maya Moore teams, Brianna Stewart. I was a little too young for when Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi was there, but it's just enjoying watching them play. And then back in 2020, I saw a line pop up, a live bet for women's college basketball. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll decide to bet it. And so that kind of just took off from there. And then this past year, I probably had my best year betting because I made about just under 200 units with the women's college basketball season.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a good year. It was a good year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just talk about that. Obviously, you don't want to give away your strategy, stuff like that, right? Because that's a secret sauce that we all have. But for women's basketball lines and things like that, they're kind of like FCS lines, right? They're not always on books until the morning of, right? An hour to tip off potentially and things like that. So what kind of, how do you research and things like that? Again, not giving away your strategy, but just kind of helping people when they want to get into women's college basketball, how do I do that when the lines only pop up, an hour and a half before?
Yeah. So, it's a lot different than men's college basketball with the stats, because ESPN doesn't really have that 3-point percentage, all that. So what I do is I go to school's website, and sometimes the NCAAW has some stuff too, but then for injuries and stuff like that, so the Lions, they don't really adjust to say if there's an injury. So I'll look at recent games to see if a player's injured, or also go on Twitter. So a lot of the reporters for the teams will post something, and that's how I kind of use that stuff to pick a line that I like.
Yeah, for sure. That you bring up a great point there as well. If you're trying to get into it, and this isn't even for women's college basketball, but go follow the beat writers, right? I mean, they know what's going on. They get the quotes. They're in the interviews with the coaches and players. So again, that's a great point as well. I also use, is it Massey ratings? I don't know if you've heard of that at all.
Yeah, I use that too.
Yep, I use that. So I've been kind of looking at that to start the season out here as well. So is there a certain conference, or are you a totals guy? Are you a spread guy? Just what do you like to bet? Do you have a favorite? What makes you your money, I guess?
So I mostly just do the spreads because I don't have the best of luck with the totals. Say if I bet an under, they'll probably be shooting 11 for 20 from 3-point range or something like that. But I'm mostly just a spread. And in the conferences, I really don't. I basically dab in any conference really.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'm big in the Summit League just because, that North Dakota, South Dakota. They've been well represented at the big dance too. South Dakota State, University of South Dakota. They've had some good years as well. I think my favorite thing too, one of my tips that I always let people know is don't be afraid of big spreads, right? There's some spreads that are, minus 35, minus 40. That's because that team is much, much better than who they're playing. So I think one of the tips too that I have is, don't be afraid of those big spreads. Any other tips, Jaden, you have that help you?
No, that's a good point with the big spreads. I mean, you have I remember the tournament was South Carolina, their first round match against Howard. It was 45 points. They blew them up by 70. Yeah. So definitely don't be afraid of those.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then what are you? Is it betting Connecticut legal there? Do sportsbooks there have it, or are you online?
Yeah, so they got DraftKings, FanDuel. They don't have Caesars though. I know they have Caesars has lines, but I know I think BetUS has them. Okay. And then I use Bovada to the original stuff.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I use Bovada, Bet Online too. It's technically not legal in North Dakota yet, so I'm big on the online, the offshore accounts and things like that. South Dakota is only in Deadwood. but it's like 8 hours from where I live. So, I'm not going to drive 16 hours to place a bet. So
Exactly.
Online is the way to go for now, at least. So, Jaden, anything else, before we kind of get into some games? Again, no lines, but, anything that's piquing your interest, any other tips, or, if somebody comes up to you, DMs you on Twitter, is like, hey, help me out. How do I get into betting women's college basketball? Any other things that you would let them know?
I mean, if you're into like the totals, I definitely look at like the smaller conferences for unders. Those are usually good ones to do. But besides that, it's basically, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, and are you making plays like every night almost, or every time there's games on in women's college basketball? Are you always kind of picking your spots?
Oh yeah, mostly every night. Yeah, I'm kind of like a degenerate. I'm a little bit like a degenerate. So.
Okay, all right, I love it. All right, so I don't know if you looked at the week slate here on Monday, November 7th here, Jaden and all. But does anything pop out of you? Are you interested in any games? I know you said you're a UConn Huskies fan. Obviously, Paige being from Minnesota, I got to watch her at Hopkins a little bit too, so I kind of know her a little bit. Obviously, her being out this season, is unfortunate. But anything pop in your eye, catch your eye here this week?
So I know Creighton and South Dakota State play, so that should be a good game. I know Creighton, they're coming off their Elite Eight appearance last year, and I know South Dakota State had some bad luck with injuries last year, so that should be a good matchup, a top 25 matchup as well. And then I was also looking at Quinnipiac and North Carolina State. The Quinnipiac's bringing back like a bunch of experience, and also bringing they have a grad transfer from, I forgot, the Power 5 school, but I forgot. And then NC State's, they've lost a lot of talent too. So I was kind of interested in that matchup to see how Quinnipiac plays them, and see how NC State kind of like, if they're going to repeat like last year, or they're going to drop their level a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like that. Oral Roberts in Oklahoma too. Oklahoma 15th in the country. Oral Roberts should have a decent team. They were picked in the top 4 of the Summer League standings this year in the preseason poll, so that should be a good one too. Jaden, is it South Carolina? Is it theirs to lose this year? I mean, they're stacked. They bring back a lot of talent.
I mean, I hate to do it against the chalk, but like, I mean, if I was going to go against the chalk, I'd probably pick Texas, and that's why I know Texas plays UConn in a couple weeks, so that should be interesting to see how, if they're for real or not, and also if UConn also is, because I think they have a bunch of injuries right now.
Yep.
To see if they're like kind of dropping their level too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. Texas, they a couple of grad transfers. I think too. I named them in my preseason rankings the Texas transfers, because I know they got a lot of transfers coming in. So they should be a strong team as well. So how long have you been watching women's college basketball, Jake?
Probably. It's probably since I was probably 10 or 11.
Okay.
Because it was always like, because we always got the UConn games and stuff like that on like the local networks. And I mean, I know women's college basketball really was on like national TV when I was a kid. So it's kind of cool seeing now them get like the exposure on like ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Have you been to a Huskies game? I'm guessing you have, or?
No, I haven't, because no, I'm pretty far away from stores. It's like it's like an hour and a half away from me, so it's kind of it's a far trip.
Yeah, especially on a weeknight,
Yeah,
that's a little bit of ways away. So cool. Well, Jaden, like I said, kind of first episode, quick. That's kind of what we're trying to do here with the Whoopin Bets podcast. Everybody has podcasts they want to listen to. So as long as we can, stuff a bunch of stuff in a short amount of time, that's better for our listeners here. So, Jaden, where can people find you, and any closing thoughts here?
So you can find me on Twitter at Almond Picks. And I do have a VIP page that I'm like trying to get more popular, and I'm going to be coming out with a VIP package for women's college basketball soon.
Nice.
Keep out for that.
All right, cool. And let's see. I also wanted to ask you, how did you get your name, Almond Picks?
So people ask me that a lot. So during the pandemic, I was just like, I saw people on Twitter making like these sports handicapper accounts. And so I was basically just eating almonds, and I'm like, hey, I'll come up with that. It was like kind of a silly name, but
It works. I love it. Yeah. So again, Almond Picks on Twitter. If you're looking for his VIPs, that's at Almond Picks VIP as well. And he does a lot of good stuff, and up a lot of units. So you love to see that. You said up almost 200 units last year in women's college basketball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was probably the best I've ever done.
Okay. And that was only your second year doing it? or have you been doing it for a while?
It's my second year.
Is that okay? So yeah, as I said, established in 2020 there. So at least on Twitter. So yeah, very cool. All righty, sir. Well, thank you for coming on the show.